Mm. All right, this is ASHEBORO Undecided. We're sitting here with Michael Gonzalez of Active Game Zoning.
Oof, so close.
Active Zone Gaming.
It was close.
No, I told you that was intentional. That was intentional. But if any other time, just please let me know, smack me or something. But
Gotcha.
yeah, so we're sitting here downtown ASHEBORO, having a good time. So first thing that we want to ask you, let's start with your journey.
Okay.
That doesn't have to be your business journey. Doesn't have to be your family journey. Just when you think of journey, let us know.
Okay. Well, I mean, the first thing I think of is how does a Miami boy make it into ASHEBORO? Is usually what I get. I get the question is like, where are you from? Because you're not from around here. But so basically, I joined the military, and then my brother was also in the military. His family, his wife that he married, her family was from ASHEBORO. So when they went to settle down, he actually came out to ASHEBORO, and I mean, that was 20 years ago. But he came out here, and then our family just started kind of trickling in behind him. Once I got out of the military, I was actually stationed in Germany for a little bit, so that backcountry farmland kind of feel was what I was used to out there. And when I went back to Florida, it was disgusting. Like it's too much. It's touristy. It was just so busy, and I really wanted to like take it back a notch and kind of step out into the woods again, kind of thing. So I contacted my brother, and I was like, "Can I come up there and stay with you or something?" You know. So whenever I'm mixing it up a little bit, but as I got out of the military, I stayed with my brother for about a month. My goal was to go to Mooresville. They had NASCAR tech there. So I was going to go there and then to like Porsche school in Georgia, and I had this whole game plan, right? Because life is, you just plan it and it happens.
Exactly.
Yeah,
every single time.
So that was kind of the game plan, and as I came by here, my brother was actually working in the zip line in town at Richland Creek, and so he calls me and he's like, "Hey, you want to go to work with me today?" He was hanging up some stuff, and I got to meet Buddy Hammer, the guy who started that, and he's like, "Oh, sorry,
be good.
I'm the kid in school that forgets to turn his phone off."
Hey, just as long as it's not family.
Right? No. It's a buddy. Okay. He's probably like, "Where are you? I need comfort and friendship." No, but sorry, Max. No, but so my brother takes me to work, and the guy that was the owner, Buddy Hammer, a super nice guy. He tells me, he's like, "Hey, you ever need a job? Come on up." And I went down to Florida, and I was probably 7-8 months in, and I was just like, why am I here? Like I don't know. It just didn't feel the same as Germany felt. Like in a sense of open space, people were different. People are different when you're in a city versus out in, the woods, basically. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to come up here. I called them up, and they said I could get a job up here at the zip line. And I was like, I actually brought my girlfriend of the time with her 2 dogs and cat. Wife. So, and then fast forward, she's now the wife of my 3 kids, and we have a house, and we're here. But
what about the dogs and the cats?
The dogs, both the one dog and one cat passed away, and one dog is relentless. Mm. Boy, she's a trooper and just keeps going.
What breeds are they?
She's a mix of, I think she's a mix of miniature greyhound and black lab. It's a very unique, like smaller black lab, but she's probably 18 years old right now. And I'm pretty sure that breaks the 100-year mark or something like that for dogs. So, but yeah, so funny enough, I bring all of this to my brother's house to stay for about a month and a half, 2 months, and bless him with all this happiness at one time. So, but we got on our feet. I stayed at that zip line for about 5 years, and I just had a really good time. But then we had Gracie, our first kid, and in the winter it slows down, so I kind of had to start, chasing out what else I wanted. And I think I ended up doing some like furniture job for a year or something like that, but then I found the visitor centers, heart of North Carolina, and I fell into tourism, which the zip line kind of gave me this bug. It was like, have fun, make money while having fun. It was something that I hunted and I wanted. There's a lot of 9 to 5s. There's a lot of, you can do this, you can do the exact job all day, and this is your job, and you go home and you change your clothes and you eat your dinner and you go to sleep and you wake up and you go back. And it's just, to me, it's so boring. And I really wanted to step out of that. So the zip line kind of gave me that bug. Tourism was a whole new opening to meeting people that were just all over Asheboro, and you included. I think through tourism, our first interaction was inviting you and Brian Hart.
Yeah.
Up to we brought him up there. It was just, we had like this event day with local businesses and stuff, and I wanted to reach out. I wanted to do new things, and it's something I do at like every job. It's like I just want to develop it, or how can we make this bigger, the next big thing. And I always kind of got my heart a little crushed, because it was like, I want to do it to someone else's stuff, and they don't have that same drive a lot of times, or passion that you want in your head. You can envision it, you can see it, but it's like, if it's not yours, you can't commit and you can't push to that next level. So I always had this thing where I was like, I just want to do my own thing. I want to get to that point, make money while having fun. Like, I don't need to be rich, but I would love to go to work and come back home and be like, what a great day at work. I can't wait to be back tomorrow to do this again. And I haven't had that feeling. And that's one thing that I do feel like with Active Zone Gaming, I feel like that. I go out to festivals, we have a blast, we come home worn out. I work a lot with my 10-year-old. She comes out and helps me. So it's just something that it's rewarding. But basically, that was kind of how it led up to it. I was at the visitor center. I got into tourism. I got to meet people like yourself, a lot of the business owners in town, Lumina, Flying Pig, Four Saints, all of those people that I started meeting business owners instead of just friends and things like that. And it was just a huge network that I felt like was spinning a web for the future for myself. And because I always knew what I wanted, I just didn't know how to get there first, or even take the first step. Is because I don't feel like I'm there. I feel like I'm taking the first step right now. But that was one thing that kind of brought me to Asheboro. Basically, my brother was up here, and then we kind of leaned into Asheboro. And I'll tell you right now, I don't think there's a person that was born in Asheboro that's more of a cheerleader for Asheboro than myself. I hate to say it like that, but I feel like sometimes, like, people that were born in the area or something, just I don't know, maybe you've been here too long or you get a little bored and stuff, but there's something different about Asheboro that in the last 10 years, if you haven't noticed it, then you're not really paying attention. Like just an example, my brother, he's not from around here, but he told me the other night, he's like, I hate driving through downtown. It's so boring. I was like, Have you ever even got out your car? Have you stopped? Have you ate any of the food? Have you drank? Have you felt the vibe of the music? Some of that downtown nightlife that 12 years ago was a desolate downtown of
5 years
ago, it's like it's developed so much in that time that I love what I'm seeing, because in the next 10 years I hope it does what it just did in the last 10 years, because if it does, then I'm in the right spot. And I think that's my journey brought me here to take that first step, and I think that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Gotcha. So I'm going back to what you said about your heart being crushed. Like, because I feel that and I understand that and I see that a lot. I feel like you are in a position where mentally where I was at with Asheboro 5 years ago. Now I'm struggling with it.
Yeah.
I'm really struggling with it. I still have the hope for it, but let's talk about the heartbreaking thing. Was that more of a because the businesses were in Asheboro, or wasn't your business that you could mold?
It wasn't mine. I think that was the biggest thing, and it's like, I mean, by all means, if it's not mine, I've got minimal input on what you're supposed to do with your company, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like businesses that don't take on new ideas can sometimes fall behind on a ever-changing future. You know, like we're just constantly evolving and moving, and it's like if you don't follow those steps, I mean, on a social media note, it's like right now TikTok's getting popular and stuff like that. It's like if you don't hit these trends, you get left behind a little bit. So it's like it's one of those things that it's like I do it to myself, maybe. I don't know. I get hyped up about ideas, and I know they can work in my brain, but it's like if somebody's not going to help me get to it, I can't do it for them, you know, like, or if it's their business, I can't do it for them. So I think one of the biggest things was I've always wanted that, to be able to just make all the decisions and then get it to a point where it is that I go home happy. That's what I'm looking for. Is I think that's what's going to do it for me, is having that ultimate feeling of go to work, have a blast. Maybe my whole family works for me. Just all of us together having fun, and then we go home, we eat dinner, we go to bed, and we wake up the next day and do it. Like, but I think it's going to take a very specific like focus, and I think a lot of times that's just how you make a business owner. Is they want it this way, and this is how you're going to do it. And I'm sure you know, because nobody's going to tell you how to do TyBru things, right?
They try. They
can, and they will, and they're going to tell you this won't work. This, you shouldn't do it here. You can't do that. It hasn't been done, or that's been tried before, and no one liked it. You know, it's like all these. You're always going to catch naysayers, and it's like I don't see any of that. Like I think people think it's weird that it's not like I don't believe I can fail. It's like I understand I can fail, and I know I can fail, and I adjust and I work with the idea that I can fail, right? You know, it's like you can't just go do something all the time, because the possibility is true.
So now you know that if you fail, it's all on you and not some other business involved with it too.
And I mean, and that's another thing too, is you can be at somebody's business and say, hey, this is going to be great, blah, blah, blah. And if it fails, you're the guy who did it to their company, you know? So it's like, I'd rather it be on my own watch, you know, and take these steps, leaps and jumps that might not go well, you know, and that's kind of one of those things that I've always wanted to go ahead and take my steps.
It's like a higher risk, higher reward type thing.
Kind of like we had mentioned earlier before we got on camera. It was like we were talking about putting in your own time frame on on doing something. It's almost like I forgot what the word is. Like an investment. You commit your time, you commit your efforts.
Right.
My wife tagged me in a thing the other day. It said it was like most people, small business owner, and you see them like laying in the bed like, did I send that email? What should I post? Blah, blah, blah. You know, and it's like, it really
true.
is.
It's
like,
so
I literally only started like 4 months ago, and there's times where I can't sleep if I don't get an idea out of my head or on a piece of paper or something. Like, if I need to like dive into that, because that's your investment. If you commit that time, I think you can create something successful. But you didn't get to this point without walking forward. Or what was it? I told a lady at the gas station the other day. She said, "This is the last time I'm going to be ringing you up." And I was like, "On to greener pastures?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, well, you can't get to the beach if you don't hop in the car. So, you know, it's like, if you want to stay home, don't hop in the car. If you want to go to the beach, hop in the car, you know? Like, so I think that's where I'm kind of at, and I'm ready to dive in. And I think that's a big thing right now is mentally, I don't know what, well, I know what happened, then we can get to that, but I wanted to dive in, and I think that's what really kind of changed gears for me. So that's where this last like 4 to 6 months I've really been pushing, you know, changing it and social media and contacting people and getting out there, and because I'm ready for that next step. I'm ready to be happy at home when I come back from work, you know.
So you mentioned your focus. I can keep on cutting you off or not? You're talking about the focus, like, so run us down like the last week or so of how much time you have focused on this.
Okay.
So you don't have to, you know, every second.
Yeah. Well, we went out, then we'll be here for 4 hours. No, I think one of the big things is we had mentioned about like what we're trying to do on Friday. It's we're going to be doing VR boxing.
You told me about that.
So we're doing a Friday night fight night at Carolina Tap House. It's the first time I'm doing it, so it's very rough right now. I'm sure I'm gonna learn so much on the first event. But what I've done is, over the last 3 weeks, I've spent time with my kids, working with the monitors, connectivity between the headsets, how do the games work together. 3 days ago, I had 2 buddies in my garage with a taped off area. How do they move in this space? Is it going to be enough space for the event space? Like, everything like that is something as simple as when I'm trying to direct you and look on the game and I call something, you see the 9 circles, but you call it dots. I call this a knife hand, you call it a judo chop hand. Well, like, you know, you got to learn everyone and what they do. So I've been spending the last couple weeks trying to just really hone it in so that when I show up, I at least have a lot of new experiences that I kind of developed it a little bit more. But honestly, Friday's rough. I'm sure there's to be some new experiences that are going to steer me one way, and I'll adjust and keep moving, you know. So, I won't get to VR box if I don't put it out there, you know. So I'm excited for that, but I think definitely there's a lot of time commitment outside of work, and because I work 40 hours as well, so it's like get done working. What did I need to order? What do I gotta text here? I need to make this post so I can hype it up. I need to do this. And it's like, that's all off time stuff. There's no payments for that. You don't get paid for. That's why when you offer something for $10 and people are like, well, you know, blah blah blah. It's like,
irritate you.
Come on, man. I just spent 40 non-hours getting you to this point where I could like make you happy for 10 minutes, even if it is 10 minutes. Yeah. But nobody counts those off hours, and that's what's crazy. And I've always respected anyone who has their own thing going, because I can only imagine the personal hours and commitment that goes unpaid, where people devote that time, and that's unseen. But it's never like, that's why I appreciate a lot of the stuff you do, because I know it's not like you just woke up and you're like, man, that film just edited itself. Look at it go. What a great concept. Yeah, good luck.
Hardest working man I know, right?
Yeah.
I wish. It was
if you could just throw yourself together real quick, that'd be great. Yeah.
You need to develop like film editing algorithm where you just put all the shit out
It'll
there
happen.
and just chops it
It'll
up.
happen. It
Just
will
chops
happen.
it up and you're good to go.
Yeah,
That
I think
will
I
happen.
saw something
That
on
will happen
Facebook.
soon.
It's like you make your own ad now. You just put it and you type in what you want it to say, and it's like a character, and they're like,
there you go.
"Hi, welcome. You've blah 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 blah."
Yeah,
blah."
I can
like,
see
nope.
that.
Have you ever wanted to punch your friend in virtual reality?
Are your teeth looking like crap?
I can just see it.
Flexodon.
Like you got all the different cameras going, you know, and then like for something like that, it's kind of, you know, it's going to be that way unless he's moving around for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So that should be an easy way to put in some kind of software just whenever somebody is moving, like just split.
Oh yeah.
But now you got to look through every second. So
Yeah. But at least it could do that pre-work for you.
Yeah,
And then you can
yeah.
go and, you know.
yeah, right now the best I can get is syncing the audio up with the video file. There's a little switch that's a magic switch, but it doesn't work every single time.
Yeah.
So
But the 9 times out of 10 it does work. It's nice.
yeah, very nice. Yeah.
I did just a tiny bit of video editing, and I remember then, and this was probably
Yeah.
10 years ago, I remember thinking, I should just be able to put all these files in
In a
software,
Yeah.
and then it'll just cut it up however it wants to, and
It
just
should.
boom.
One day, I promise.
And one thing, I'm glad you do like all Canon, because one thing I found out one time, I was doing video editing. I was doing quinceañeras. I was doing a little bit of videography for that. And I brought a buddy along, and he was shooting a Sony A6000. I was shooting a Canon. The file names were totally different. When I tried to put everything together, I didn't realize how I would have to look through each and every video to find which one of his matched up to which one of mine, so I can lay those in between each other and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, next time you're shooting on mine, well, it's mine are timestamped differently and this and that, and it's just like some of that stuff is intense, man. And multiple cameras, multiple memory cards, multiple everything. It becomes overwhelming, I'm sure.
Yeah, very, very much so. You got anything real quick? So you talked about the VR for a second. Let's go back to the beginning. What do you offer at this point?
Right now?
Yeah.
So right now we're doing, we started out with bumper balls. It's an inflatable bumper ball. They're about 5 foot tall. I also have a 4 foot version. So you can do adults and younger kids, basically about 5 to 6 up. So these bumper balls, they're an inflatable that you get inside of. You wear straps like a backpack, and you have these handles. So those are, some people call them bumper balls or knocker balls, which is a kind of a franchise. But yeah, basically you get inside these things and you run at each other and just smash into each other, and you'll see people like, ooh, which is fun for me to watch, as well. But I think it's kind of funny because our company goal is basically to get people active more. It's just a lot of people. I would say it's less people go out to the gym and things like that, and there's a select few that, gym rats in that crowd, but it's like, I want to make it fun to get back. Like, if you remember when we were little kids, riding the bike way farther than mom used to let us, and like sweating, and you're tired, and you fall into dirt, scrape your knee, keep going, and it's like, that's a day. That was a normal day, but now it's like, oh no, baby, you gotta get your boo-boo good, but so as far as what we offer, though, the bumper balls, right? So we do the bumper balls. We do, commonly, it's a 2-hour package for $200. It's just kind of starting. I think we'll be going up to $250 on the 2 hours. Just because its setup is about an hour on both sides, so it's about 4 hours for me. Plus, I have to hire help. But we're doing bumper ball packages at $200. We're just starting the VR stuff, so we're gonna be offering that as a package as well. So basically, right now, 100% I can offer bumper balls. I can come out to a birthday party or something like that. I just need a grass field. I've talked to ASHEBORO Parks and Rec. They said if we were interested, we could, as long as you or a person would rent the gazebo, I could come and show up as a contractor that you hired to do your birthday party. We just can't exchange money on a park, basically.
And you wouldn't have to go through the park. It would just be...
Yeah, they would go through the park. They would rent the gazebo, and then they just contact me and pay me on the internet or whatever, and then I can come out there. As long as there's an open field, I would say about, the bigger the better, but maybe 40 by 40 is starting to constrain running around freely. But what I've done at the festivals, which they give me a smaller thing, is we just do battles where you run at each other and see who can knock each other down. do about 4 battles at $5. So the festivals have been a little bit different. It's been $5 for 4 battles or $10 for a wristband, and you can come back through and get in line, and you can play all day as long as your family's there. So the festivals is kind of like a taste of it, but birthday parties is $200 package, and I bring out 8 bumper balls. And then from adults down to 5. So the VR is going to be a new package, very similar, something like 2 hours, $200, maybe a little more, $250, just because of the gear, and it's a lot of expense putting in and stuff. But our goal is to get that to be a second package, and then come spring, we're going to be offering something else. So we'll have 3 packages, and then you'll be able to kind of combo. And for a longer party or more people, you want to keep 10 kids over here doing something, 10 kids over here doing something. Then I can kind of work around and develop package systems where it's like you can either buy singles or you can combo up and stuff. So but that's kind of where we're at right now. We're offering bumper balls, and after Friday we'll be offering VR as a birthday entertainment thing. Right now I'm doing 1v1 VR boxing, and then you can also do mini games on a game called Loco Dojo. It's got all this. It's more for the kids, but if the parents are interested, I'm totally fine with letting their teenagers punch each other in the face virtually.
Well, this is pre-recorded, so by the time this comes out, this will be an available option.
Yeah, correct. So I think, I mean, depending on the time of release and stuff, but definitely, I mean, Friday we're good.
So you should be.
I'm confident that once I get all that experience on Friday, we'll be offering it for sure. So as of right now, we'll be offering bumper balls in VR. So I don't know that myself, though. I can do it all, which I've been having my 10-year-old help me out, and she's a blessing, man. She's a little more focused than I expected out of a 10-year-old, but it was like we went to a birthday thing, and she's like, "Are we charging here?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "Why?" I was like, "Baby, they paid us to be here, though. Like, I mean, we don't get to charge everyone."
Do I get to collect the money now?
Yeah. So she's done some of those jobs. She helps me set up. She collects money. I mean, she directs people. I've even seen her like tell an adult and kid like, "Have you guys paid?" You know? I mean,
that's good though. Yeah,
she's on it.
It's a good trait to grow.
Yeah. Because she knows Daddy's going to be happy, and she's going to be happy.
Yeah,
exactly.
When that's it.
She knows the guidelines on what we're looking for and stuff, and she asks a lot of questions. She's like, she'll write down a little notepad, and she'll have stuff before an event, awesome. And she's like, "Did you get this? Did you get this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we're packed up. So she's been a real big help in it all. So I'm excited to have her on board with me as a helper, but she's definitely done some stuff with the way she's treated it. I do pay her as like my daughter to help me out, but to teach her about labor for money. Like I don't believe. Somebody told me the other day, like, "Oh, free labor," and I was like, "Nah, man. I want my kid to understand. Yeah, it's like an allowance where you basically." I want you to know when you put those hours in, that's when you get money. Like not just because you're there, like, but you put that effort in and that work, that's when you get paid. And it's not just actual physical money, but a life concept, a moral to live by. It's like if you don't go out and get it, there's no money to be made. There's no reward if you don't put the effort in, you know.
I like that a lot. If I can speak on your so something you mentioned earlier, I guess like your belief or the reason why you're doing it. You know, people aren't active much anymore, and the vast majority of the time, if we're active, it's to be active. You know, like it's not some event that we just happen to be active for. We're like, damn, I got to get active. Let me go and run, you know, or go outside but like nowadays it's like, you know, on our phones in the house, scrolling television, whatever. It's nice that you're going to provide something that will be entertainment active entertainment, not for the sake of actually being active. You know,
Yeah.
as an adult, I'm like, well, let me go. This will help my health. You know,
Well,
this will help me be healthy.
Yeah.
But it's good that you actually, you know, I can appreciate that.
And I think one thing that changes the concept of like physical activity, and like people like hate the idea of a gym or going to it and this and that, it's because it's boring. It's a lot of work mentally. A lot of people mess with themselves and they're like, I can't do this, you know, and or you do a little bit and you're like, oh, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Why'd I even start this? Or you work out for a week and you're like, nothing's gonna change, you know, like stuff like that.
Right.
But I think when you add fun to it, it really changes it, because you don't realize it. And I told somebody the other day, I'll be surprised if Friday somebody can make it through 3 fights.
Yeah,
And keep going.
Wear you out.
Yeah, I did about an hour and a half the other day, and I promise you, every upper body muscle, all my traps, bicep, I couldn't even laugh without my abs hurting. Like, it will put you in a spot where you realize, well, I haven't swung those muscles in a little bit. I haven't moved around like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's something unique, and with the bumper balls too. It's funny because it's like, you would think the kids for 2 hours would just be like, because that's kids normally, you know, they're just like, you know, running, you know, and doing stuff. But usually, I'd say about 15 to 20 minutes.
Wow.
That first little bunch of kids, they're like rolling on the ground like, well, dang.
Yeah, I mean,
Didn't realize that was like that. And just kind of like something that happened at one party. I had a buddy that he was an Army buddy, and he's got some friends in Raleigh that we were actually in the military with, and we went to do their birthday party, and the mom came over and she's like, we're talking about physical activity. I was like, yeah, they're probably going to get tired, you know, and this and that. And she's like, well, I'll be interested to find out, you know, how you feel these kids differ, because most of these kids do CrossFit for their physical activities at school. And I was like, okay, all right, that'll be cool to see, because most kids, you know, they're pretty worn out after a little bit and stuff.
A little extra data.
Yeah. So 15 minutes in. Oh man! Yeah.
Take me back to CrossFit.
But they take a little breather, they get some water, but they keep coming back. You know, and it's not like, I feel like when you do an exercise, you don't go grab water and say, man,
let me hit the treadmill again.
Oh, let me suck again.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like, and it's something that it just draws them back. And I think VR boxing is going to be the same way. It's going to be so fun that you're going to wake up the next day and you're going to be like, oh, I had so much fun.
Yeah.
But
this is worth
why?
it. Yeah.
Why? But I mean, I had a blast last night, you know, but, and my hopes are that, like, especially with the VR boxing, that maybe I can make it a revolving thing, like a weekly thing at some places or something like that. And then maybe these people do come back and they are being active at least once a week, where they come out, sweat a little bit, and go home happy, you know, like, or just work your beer off. I don't know, like whatever you're, but I think most people don't even do, can I ask you how much physical activity you did this week? Like actual sweating exercise?
On that stage.
On the stage.
Probably.
I do a whole lot. Like when I rehearse, I do that.
There's a lot of movements in the stage and back and forth and the walking.
We go to the zoo at least once a week, and then to the science center. So we're walking. I'm walking with the kids.
No, but that's good. That's more than some people do these days.
I make sure we do that. Even if it's cold out, we wrap up and we're walking and we're doing stuff.
And I think something like that, like, you know, people sleep on the idea of hiking. Like some people don't go out enough with like their kids to something simple like Deep River out here, the trail, and just walk that mile and walk that mile back with your kids and stare at leaves, because you're having fun while you're doing it. Like, they're just doing whatever they want and they don't realize that they just walked 2 miles. You know, and it's like, or like the zoo adds fun to what you would think is you know, what some would think is an exercise. you walk the zoo, you're tired.
With a stroller too.
Yeah, especially pushing a stroller on some of the hills and stuff.
It's a good workout.
We took my niece to the zoo recently, and I'm carrying her at a certain point, and she's 2 years old, and all of a sudden she starts, as I'm carrying her, she's like, and I'm like, what are you doing? She was like, that's you. She's like, that's what you sound like. I was like, Jesus, I gotta get more active.
Just to point it
She
out.
was like, yeah. I was like, is that me? She's like, yeah, that's you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I would love to be more active too. So I enjoy the challenge of like, how much did you do? Because we all could do more.
I need to do more.
I feel confident in what I do with what I can do.
Yeah.
Versus what I see a lot of my peers not doing.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
for the kids too, man.
And that's the thing, for kids in general. I mean, but for the future, I guess, for active zone. Well, I guess we were going to kind of talk about that a little bit too.
But we can kind of answer some.
Yeah,
just go ahead.
But it's like in the future, my goal isn't totally focused on a specific market right now, but my future, I do want to develop it more towards older kids, where it's almost the kids that don't bounce in the bounce house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a point where it breaks. I've been to festivals where the high schoolers are like, they're up here on me, and I'm like, so you want to get into bumper ball? Like, yeah, go ahead, and it's like, these kids aren't hopping in a bounce house. They're not doing stuff like that. And it's almost like once we got to a certain point, there's not much for them to do as far as like activities to go out, to be a little like physical. You can have the school sports and stuff, but I mean for fun,
right?
Like, and that it's if you're heavily involved in sports, but not everybody's like football, basketball, wrestling, and stuff. Yeah. But those are the physical kids. There's the other kid that it's like, I want to have fun, but I don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
But it's like you don't realize you're going to the gym when you're playing a VR boxing game.
Right.
You're just working every new muscle you haven't touched in a while. But eventually, I do want to have a focus on those kids, and also, I don't want to use the word. I want to help kids in that age range. I want them to come to the place, have fun, but I want to find a way to blend that into helping people chase their dreams, having better focus. Kind of the stay off the streets concept, but I'm not saying it's only limited to you're a gangster or a thug doing bad things in the streets. I want people who might not be able to talk to a parent, or people like kids-wise, older kids, who they just can't relate to a certain friends or friends crowd, or maybe even bullied in school, and they just need somebody different that just wants to talk eye to eye, like with you and stuff like that. And I want to get to where I can develop it into that, to where there's a lot more, even to the extent of maybe classes and things like that, to help people learn photography, videography, streaming, even things like that I can help in a younger mind, like develop that faster. Because sometimes I think you should always go to school, but I don't think school has a focus on pushing you into your passion of life.
Very true.
That's one thing that I'd like to develop on, is people's dreams that are outside of your math, English, and stuff like that at school. I want you to be able to come have fun at this place, but and make it to where I can use that growth to help other people, and kind of go hand in hand. And because like I said earlier, we might have not even been on camera, but I don't plan to be rich. I want, the more I can develop it, the more I'm going to push out and reach out. And I think that's my goal at the end. But definitely, I want to have a place. Like I want to have a building. I think there's a lot more ideas that will come once there's that kind of play space, some outdoor space, some indoor space, and just really just hit that next level. But there's a lot of cool ideas. What's crazy is when I did my grand opening, which very ungrand if you've ever had a grand opening. But so it was like the time it started and no one was there yet. And I was like, but it was like family, friends. Eventually some showed up, but I gave them a time slot and I said, come anytime within that time slot. We'll be at the park. Like, so they, trickled in and stuff like that. And I ran into a guy that I worked at a furniture place. I only worked there for like a year, and he came up to me, and we were speaking Spanish with each other, but he's like, man, I remember you talking about that. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, you were talking about like having the stuff and this and that. And I was like, that was 7 years ago, man. And I had talked to him 7 years ago, and I had it in my mind, right? I know it was just conjuring, and I've created ideas, and I've played it out so far out that it's like I don't understand any of this failing. You know what I mean? Like it's like I've created spots where it's like I know things won't go perfect, but it's not going to stop me. I'm gonna keep going. That's the only way for me to see it, is because it makes no sense to start and then be like, well, today it didn't go well, so oh well, let me stop everything. So it's like in my mind, there's no failing, because I'm not gonna stop. You only fail when you stop trying, So I think my goal is to just push, and that's something that he kind of reminded me of too. Was I had this conjuring in my brain for a couple years, and then it's like kind of coming back to, I told you what kind of kick started me. I did have there was a point where basically with my brother we kind of butted heads, and I basically was out of a job for a little bit, but we mended our ways and we're still back together. But he told me something, and it resonated a lot in my head, because that day that I went home and I was like, I got no job, I got nothing going on right now, and I put out interviews and fielders and things like that. But about a week or 2 weeks before that, I had mentioned to him, I was like, and the bumper balls, man, and I want to have this van, and I want to do this thing, and I'm going to, blah, blah, blah. And then we talked about another idea, and I was like, and I could do this, and I could do that, and I was doing it to myself. I was like boosting myself about it, but it was like I wasn't doing anything at all about it, So, right. And I tell him all this stuff, and he's like, all those ideas and no oomph, and I was like, oh, oof, just like.
That was your brother?
Yeah, that's my brother. Brotherly love,
You need a brother to do something like that.
Right. And I was like, I didn't say much about it, but it was just something that, like, I went home, and I swear I played that in my head, all that and no oomph, like I didn't step forward at all, and I thought about that a lot, and I was like, I just played it over in my head, and I was like, why not? Like, why haven't we taken one step forward aside from all these cool ideas in your head? So I had a little red Honda Civic sitting in the garage I was barely using, and I had a kayak that I was ordering, that I had pre-ordered. It was supposed to be like the new hype of kayak for the year and stuff, and I had that on order, and I had a little red Civic, and I was like, I backed out on the order for the kayak. I sold my Civic, and then I took the money, and I was like, Amazon, order. It's gonna happen. Order. And I brought everything together, and I was like, go, Mike, like, do it, like, just jump, like, I would say, most likely to some it would be a reasonable investment, but when you're starting a small business, to get in at a small startup cost is like gold, and especially I was fortunate enough that after me and my brother talked, like now I still have a Monday through Thursday, 10 hours a day, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I commit to myself. Like I want to keep pushing, and I want to get out there. I want to develop it. I want to fall, get back up again, keep running, and that's where I'm at right now. Like I love it because I feel like I haven't been this driven in a while. So that's one thing that is really motivating me to like get out, reach out to people, talk to people, tell people about it, and go places. So I know you had mentioned kind of like how has that developed, like in the last one?
It was like I've noticed, because it's been, like you said, 4 months when you officially kind of started it, and like I've just seen so much growth in that time.
Yeah.
You know, so like, you know, how I guess you already explained that you're getting on there and you're ordering stuff and you're making it happen, making that next step happen. So, and
I think a lot of it comes with a mix of this new like drive, on top of we were talking about like those off hours committed. Like if I get a chance, I'm on Facebook looking at everyone's events. I wrote so many festivals over the last like 2 months, just fall festivals and things like that. I was like, I sent them pictures. I was like, here's what I am. Here's who I am. I've sent them videos, the links. I was like, this is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. Do you have space available? And I've met some great people in charge of the festivals. We did Bush Hill Jamboree, Ramsor Fall Festival. I even went as far as Laurel Hill, North Carolina. And it was the most random thing because I actually met the lady who runs it at the zip line. I was doing like a little part-time on the weekend. And I just mentioned it to her, and she's like, my mom does Laurel Hill, North Carolina's festival. And I was like, well, give her my information. I'd love to, entertain the idea. We went down there, and that's the best festival I've had yet. Wow. And it was our first big one.
It's the furthest away.
Yeah, but they invited us back for spring, and they want us back for their next fall festival.
Congrats.
And it didn't happen by magic. It happened by coming home and like being like, I want to drive forward, and I want to keep pushing. And it's like, we went to one festival in Burlington that was what I felt was a bust. I think I made like $20 after paying the lady for the vendor fee and stuff, and because no one showed up. But that simple one setting isn't going to turn me into like, everyone's right. This is just never going to cut out like you want it to, like
that happens so often in music and like festivals and not festivals, but just like setups. Like a couple of times I've done it with Kimberly, and like just the people that just they get so fucking mad that nobody's there for them. Yeah, and then they just you never see them again.
Yep. Yeah. How long would you have lasted if you dropped off after your first bad show? I mean, I wouldn't have been doing it a year.
Honestly,
I would have been doing it for a few months.
I think I had to like knuckle up a little bit after the grand opening, because it was like family and friends. It's like your closest knit circle, and you're like, well, if I just have this crowd, that's 15, 20 people, perfect. This is good enough to work with. And then nobody shows from that, and you're like, well, dang,
Well, just to make you feel better on that note, going to several ribbon cuttings, being a part of the chamber, it's like there's like 5-6 people every time. I mean, there's not a lot of people. It's a rare event if it's packed. You know what I'm saying? Here in Asheboro that I know of. Our grand opening was steady because I set it up to where there would be people in and out all the time. Yeah. They're coming to see the kids from the youth theater company. They're here. They're doing a meet and greet, doing some performances here. At least those people will come with a couple people, and then it just gets.
And I think mine had a little bit of toughness because it's like I'm just mobile right now, so it's like I don't have a physical building. Right. There was no way to be like, check this spot out specifically, and so I tried to do like an event. I tried to tell people about it and stuff like that, just friends. I wasn't wasn't posting heavily to the public and stuff. It was just like friends of the family and stuff like that, friends from church and things. That just it was, anyone that was willing to come and stuff, because I needed my research, and that's what one thing I told my daughter too. Like I didn't want her to get bummed with the idea that maybe there's not that many people, but I got photography content from there. I got video content from there. I learned about how people respond to how do I have to explain it to them. I learned how the straps work on their bodies, which size kids fit in what's more interesting, what they play with, how it all. There was so much knowledge out of that 5 people could have showed, and I would have been successful in my mind of what I was looking for. I was able to inflate all the bumper balls, which was the first time we were inflating all of them, and put them out so I could take some nice photography with everything kind of laid out in the field. And that was the big one for me. Also,
that's going to set you apart. That right there,
perspective.
Because you've gotten something out of it that's beneficial.
Yeah.
Now, when that needs to stop and progress into profit, that's your own choice. Whenever you have that time in your head, like, okay, I'm learning enough. I got enough content.
Yeah.
Now,
and that has to be short lived too.
Yeah,
like, because you can only do so much free before you're like, oh well. I messed it up. You can't order the next thing. Yeah. And another one that was a big one for me on that day that had nothing to do with people was my time frame of setup to breakdown. Like I had never set everything up. So just learning how long it took me to put out the tent, the table, inflate every ball, things like that. That was priceless for me. So I try not to let the support match my drive, like it's like even if you barely come out or whatever, like I'm still gonna keep pushing. Like I have nothing in my mind but push forward, like so I'm excited. I think there's some cool stuff coming next year too. The hopes are to do gel blasters parties.
Okay.
Have you heard of gel blasters?
Yeah. Elaborate on it.
Basically, it's paintball with little beads of Orbeez.
Oh, okay.
But it's like getting hit by a little chunk of Jello.
Yeah.
But it blows up on impact. It's not like it's a lot softer than paintball. Basically, so the kids are kind of.
It's
but
fun.
It's biodegradable. It goes into the ground eventually. So
yeah.
It's something that it's like I think a lot of times when you go to paintball places, like people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. There's paintballs everywhere. This and that. It's something that breaks down into the grass, and so like if you did it in a field. But it's a very similar, like 4v4 maybe concept with some obstacles. So that's going to be that'll be our third package. Cool. But I'm thinking that's spring of 2023 is somewhere around that time.
Exclusive material.
Yeah. So I mean, the building has its own whole dive, but I think a building realistically maybe 1.5 to 2 years out.
Yeah.
Just being, I try to be realistic with myself, but I don't set guidelines in a sense, like like you're saying, like it's a lot of growth in this time period. Like I don't want to be like I can't have a building next month, because I'm a dreamer, but I try to humble myself down too with some realism. Like
realistic.
It's you gotta have a little bit of both, because if not, what's the point of chasing a dream if you don't have the dream?
Right.
So I gotta keep that mindset where it's like it's all possible, but at the same time none of it's gonna happen if I don't go. Like if I don't go for it,
Well,
so
blind positivity will only lead you to where you were earlier, where you had all these ideas but weren't moving.
Because I mean I've had them beating around in my head for quite a while, and I love the response we've had in 4 months. I think that's one of the best things is just the way festivals have treated us, the people running them, the way the kids come up. I stay with a line. The other day when we did Ramsor Fall Festival, back to my daughter, she got mad at me because I told her shut it down for 15 minutes. I need the bathroom, I need something to eat, a drink, and I'll come back and I'll do this again. She's like, Dad, I've turned away like 10 people. We're
Mhm.
losing money, Dad.
Mhm.
And I'm like,
That's awesome.
cut it off, man. I need to take a break.
Yeah.
But it's amazing that when it turns on at some of these festivals, it's a line,
That's
and
awesome,
I just
man.
don't stop until that thing's done. And then I start driving home, and I'm like, then I can feel every muscle start in the body, and I'm like, it's like the adrenaline starts to come back,
Yep.
and it's like, oh my gosh, what
Yeah.
did we do today? You
Yeah.
know, wow, we just spent freaking 6 hours straight just playing.
That's great,
You know,
man.
so it's pretty wild. On that, I'm very interested to see how Friday goes. I think it's going to be great. Just some of the little stuff I was doing. One thing I noticed is a VR game is fun in its own if you play it. But for the person next to you, if you're not playing in VR, you're not having any fun.
Right.
So the goal is to give it to the people as well. So that's where the monitors come in. I'll display it out to the crowd.
I
But
think
you
that's
get to
great.
watch them in the game. And it creates this, almost like you go to a sports bar and you're watching a boxing match.
Mhm.
You have fun because you're sitting there and you're like,
Cheering for one of
oh,
them,
wow,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like you get into it. So I think that really changed it. And I noticed that kind of while they were like playing around in the garage and stuff. And it's like when you let someone watch it, they're totally immersed. They're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, oh hit him, oh go, you know. And it just, to me, that felt really good. And I'm excited to see a whole tap house do it. You know,
I think
so
it's awesome, man.
I think
It's a good time.
I think it is.
So the monitors, you say you're going to give out to people, or is it just going to be like?
I have a rolling cart that
Okay.
has double monitor arms.
Okay, gotcha.
And then basically that'll display out, and I have all my like power supply inside and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's set up to where I can just roll in, set up the arms, put my monitors
Smart.
on, and I can play it out to the people. But I can also charge the headsets on that if I need to. That'll be what the Wi-Fi comes from as well.
Custom made.
No, just a Harbor Freight toolbox with
Okay.
the drawers. It's custom made because I've been drilling through it and making it custom mic made. But
It's got some mods on it.
yeah. But
Yeah.
the nice thing is with the van, it's worked out that I can keep all the bumper balls in. I can fit the tool. So inside my van, I can fit the toolbox with all the VR stuff, the 2 monitors, the 4 cornhole board sets. Battle sticks is we also do. Sorry, I guess earlier when I said what we offer, the bumper balls don't just come alone. They come with 2 sets of cornhole boards. There's a tug of war rope, and then there's what we call battle sticks. It's
Is that Gladiator?
Gladiator. Yeah.
Gladiator.
You remember the Cupid,
Yeah.
the Q-tips where
Yeah.
they're fighting with each other. It's similar to that. It's foam things, but I put them on balance boards. So
Oh,
they
that's
have to
cool.
be on a balance board, and they have to hit each other to unbalance the other person. So all physical kind of,
I like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I like that. That's neat.
So, and then it also helps out if I've only got 8 bumper balls, I got a party of 15 kids.
Mhm.
Those kids have something to do, play some tug of war real quick, cornhole boards. While they swap out, the other kids get tired. So it's not like kids are waiting on something to do. So that's kind of the combo package. But all that fits in the van, the VR stuff, and then I got a carrier now that it will be, the rooftop carrier will be for all the gel blaster stuff later. So one-stop shop out of the van. That's my goal right now, is trying to keep my costs down. I want to be able to get out to people's birthdays, events. I'm hoping with the VR, we're after Friday, if all goes well and I keep pushing forward, my next goal is actually going to be chasing a little bit of Greensboro and Winston.
Okay.
Some Joymongers, Wiseman Brewing, Foothills, stuff like that. They have so much space. But one thing that I was seeing is with the bumper balls, you see how all the festivals are leaving right now. No one wants to be outside right now.
Right.
So that just put a knife right into the whole idea of being outside until spring, basically. So that's why I kind of wanted to, you were saying about growing kind of fast. That's kind of why I pushed hard right now for the VR, because it's something that's going to take me inside, which I still get to get people active, but we're going to be indoors. just for the sake of the equipment and cold, overheating and too hot of a sun and stuff like that. So the VR will be more of an indoors thing. And you can't get too much light into the sensors on the front of the headset. So that's something I wanted to push for right now, because I want to get inside with people and have something that I can give you during the weather. And then once spring comes out, we'll be back out. I mean, as long as it's a dry day and there's no mud on the grass, I'll come outside in the cold. I mean, I love to ski, so I'm not.
There's people that will come out too.
Yeah,
not a lot, but
yeah.
there's people.
But so that's kind of the focus right now, is get indoors with the VR, and then just keep pushing. Yeah. So I'm excited, man.
So run us down with what the equipment you would put on a box fight night. So
Okay.
what would the person go in and put on their body? Just
So basically, we have a headset that got like a special strap. It just kind of clicks down. If you've ever used a construction helmet, it just has a little click. But basically, that sits on your face, and there's actually a fan on the top, and it sucks the hot air out,
nice.
so you don't fog up the glasses and stuff like that. And then there's also an external battery pack, but basically the headset, the goal is to have it balanced so it's not so much of a strain on your face. But you'll have a headset, and then you have two handles that are the controllers, and then basically that has like a little wristband, and you put those on so that if they're throwing punches, they don't one of your controllers. But so basically in that sense though, the only time they actually have to push buttons is if you get knocked out in a match. You have to hold two buttons, and you go like that on your sides, like you're running almost, and it's like you get knocked out and you black out and you come away from the ring, and as you do that, it brings you back to the ring. So you exercise to bring yourself back into your body, basically, and you're like, and the moment you get back into your body, and you keep going with that, and you do have to block when your arms get tired. But basically, as far as equipment, all they'll have is the headset and the two controllers. My hopes are to set it up very easy for anybody, where you don't have to use a lot of buttons. That's one thing I really like about the boxing, is based on your body motions. Your head is, if you duck, your helmet tells the height, so you actually have to duck away from the punches, and you have to actually swing, find those pockets and stuff like that. And so it's very immersive. So immersive. Let's talk immersive for a second. So
that's new.
No. This is before I started. So this is what
a close up of that.
Yeah. This is how you know you need a space for VR boxing, right? So did you get that?
I did.
Yeah. So basically, this is pre anything. I totally new to the headset. My buddy actually bought me. I don't know if you ever kept up with stocks. Do you remember GameStop and AMC? Yeah, that whole thing.
Right around the pandemic time.
Yeah, so my buddy blew up on GameStop. He had a solid run and it made almost $100K.
Wow.
He turned around, and between 5 of us that video game together, he turned around and he bought all 5 of us Oculus headsets.
That's awesome.
So
Wish I'd known him.
Yeah, right. You know, but we joked with them.
Run?
They're about $400.
Okay.
But with the extra gear on it, it comes up to $500, and there you got to buy like the headsets and the fans, the extra battery pack and stuff. But the so he sends that out to me, and I was like, totally new to this. I'm trying out some of it, but I see that I'm getting a little bit loud. In all fairness, I did drink that night. It doesn't make it any better, but so I'm playing, and I was like, man, I'm gonna wake up the family. I'm downstairs, so I was like, I'll go in my office, and I go inside the office, much smaller room, and so I go inside this. Hold on. No. So the guy who actually bought me the headset, he's the guy unboxing. This is the first time we actually get to a point where we're connected together on this game, where we can actually fight. And we're probably 3 rounds in, and we're having the best night of our lives, laughing, cracking up. And he said, for his experience, he said he was so confused because he just got radio silence. Like, Mike just disappeared. So
Your little character's just like...
I'm here. Yeah. No, I was ripped the headset off. I was done, man. Like, so I'm swinging, and we're like fighting, and I got low, and I was like, those ribs, and I went like that, and I hit some, and I was like, whoa, like instantly, and I pulled that headset off, and I was just gushing blood out.
God.
I hit the corner of my desk inside the office.
Ouch.
And I think it was about 5 or 6 stitches.
Ugh.
But the whole goal was to not wake the wife up. I had to wake the wife up.
With the ambulance.
Yes, I needed it immediately. I know, and to make it better, like I'll be honest, I don't do so well with blood.
I don't even.
I got a thing like it's more like the needles where they're drawing blood and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I maybe it was the military nurses who ruined me or whatever, but I don't do well with it. So I crawled up my stairs, and I got like crawl into the bedroom. I was like, babe. She's like, what? I was like, put a Band-Aid on it or something. I don't know. And she's like, she looked at it and she's like, you need to go to the hospital. That is not a Band-Aid kind of thing. And I was like, oh no. And I'm going to give you some bad insight, but good insight. So we get in the car, and I'm like struggling to get into seat. We get into the hospital, man, and they put me in a wheelchair, or they're rolling me in. And the first thing we get in there, I was like, I'm so sorry. I really need a shit. It was literally the first thing in. So I'm in the bathroom, like, dripping blood off my hand, like, oh, it's like 3 a.m. now. I'm like, oh, this is just...
Are you right-handed?
Yeah. It took me... It was like a month to a month and a half where I was learning how to remake my fist, and that was probably the most aggravating thing, to be able to clench a fist again. And this is not a normal VR boxing experience. Let's just clear this up.
Yeah, well, you said, even on your grand opening or those or the festival that you only made $20 at, you still were like, well, I learned all these things.
Yeah.
This was you learning.
Super learning
that you shouldn't have desks around.
Yeah. No, so
he put in the blood, sweat, and tears.
Yes.
So your customers didn't have to.
We emphasized the space.
That needs to be on the business card.
Yeah, exactly.
Blood, sweat,
and shit.
And shit, yeah. Blood, sweat, tears, and shit to make this enjoyable for you.
Sometimes that's the way the night goes, In all fairness, now let's retract back to the fight.
Oh, God.
After I recovered and I was able to move my hand again, we finally got our chance to fight again, and I did whoop his ass.
Yeah, good.
I came back, so... But no, honestly, it's one thing that, like, when I was talking to the owner, it's one thing that I'm going to strive for is space. We're working on an 8x15 space is the minimal that I would say. It gives each person almost an 8x8 square. And then also some learning curves with this stuff was you can actually set up what they call a guardian. And so, like, as I put my hand forward in the game, if you actually pass your guardian, a whole grid comes up in the game, and then it shows a red circle.
Oh.
I didn't know you can change those, make them more aggressive, the colors, things like that. There's so much that I had to learn, and I quickly started researching what I had to learn, because apparently space was required, and but it's things like that I've been trying to... Gosh, this was probably a year and a half ago. So it was, before I even had the idea to go down this road. But definitely you need space in that kind of concept. But one of the things where with the space is, like, if you have enough space, it's pretty crazy. If you use a whole room, it's wild because you have no boundary of a sort. But the way I have it set up is you're actually on a foam mat. So mentally, as you step off the foam mat, you feel new floor. That should click something first.
Back up a little bit.
Then you break through this guardian barrier, and that's about 4 foot radius. And then, or not radius, it's about 4 foot within the 8 foot. So you got about 2 feet on each side. So it's the foam pad. Then you have the guardian, and then I have fenced off area with like barrier chains. So that way, it's like you would literally have to go off the pad through the guardian, another 1.5 feet through the fence line, and then you will get to what might be an object or a person. But it's like, and that, that experience really helped me kind of develop that, obviously. So it was like one of those things, like immediately, if you're going to let somebody throw punches, you need space.
Right.
So I'm just glad that I'm glad I got stitches one day, I guess. I mean, it's better me than the crowd, right? So I'm willing to go. And that's the thing is, like, right now, there's no stop. 6 stitches aren't going to stop me. It's going to drive me harder, So that's one thing that I want to stick with is just maintain that drive, So that's the hopes. And I know it's winter and it's hard to have drive right now, but You
will.
Man, I gotta ask, because this is all I'm seeing right now, and I just realized something that I've never realized before with you telling the story. Okay, so I'm picturing you with your bloody hand.
Okay.
All right, your bloody hand.
Are we on the
using
toilet
the rest?
right now?
You're on the toilet. And then when you were saying that, and I was picturing it, I realized
that I'm
right-handed, and I've never wiped my ass with my left hand in my whole life.
You want to talk about a new experience?
So I was like, how are you going to take your bloody hand?
You don't. You learn with your left real fast.
Yeah.
No, honestly, I mean, outside of having to call the nurse in to help out, like, I had to learn with my left hand immediately, right? So that's funny. It's one of those things that it's like, it's a story to tell for life, and I feel like it kind of...
It's amazing.
It's something that sets this in my brain as like, I don't know what it is. I feel like it's almost like a memory to keep going or something. Like something's here. Yeah. I bled for it now, so I got to keep going. But
that's so good.
So with this being ASHEBORO Undecided, the question is, what would you like? What would improve ASHEBORO? What's your, I have a huge love-hate relationship with this. I know we've spoken about it a couple nights we were out at Lumina and Taco Loco. So I guess go into like the pros and cons and what you would do or what you think should be improved with ASHEBORO.
Improved with ASHEBORO to make my dream reality, or kind of like just in general what ASHEBORO could use in a sense, I guess.
Yeah, like you both, but more of, since you are a business person at this point and you are striving to make this a reality.
I think so. I feel like when I first came to ASHEBORO, there was a lot of like, there's a lot of people that thought ASHEBORO would never amount to nothing. It's not going to ever do anything, and I think there was a point where I think they did a 60-minute thing. They did it on ASHEBORO. They called it the Dying City. A business couldn't survive in ASHEBORO, and that's everyone's concept of ASHEBORO at that period of time. And call it whatever you want to call it, but I give it a lot of credit to alcohol. I know that's kind of odd, but the moment we kind of shifted some gears on that mindset where, alcohol wasn't okay in the community and stuff, but I think it's created a little more. And by all means, the zoo was knocking it out of the park pre-alcohol, but I think tourists in general like to have all options.
Mm-hmm.
And if you limit certain options, you limit how much money can come into the city. And I think we opened up another part of the market that was coming here, tourism and stuff-wise. So I think it really developed, and instantly you saw downtown has turned around. We have restaurants. It's lively. I was there last night on a Monday night. People walking across the street, eating. I had a Cuban at the Black Lantern over there.
How was it?
It was pretty good. They use sweet
They were
pickles.
open
Not
on
really. They're not normally, but they with Thanksgiving they're going to be closed, so they wanted to be open an extra day for the people.
That's awesome, you know.
But they use sweet pickles.
Yeah.
I'm Cuban,
Gotcha.
and they made Cuban with sweet pickles.
Yeah.
Now, in their defense, they added Dijon mustard, which it was
Kinda
like
offset
had this
it.
like spice, and
Right.
it kind of there's a little battle there that
Right.
was good for me. But yeah, I'm a regular pickles guy,
Yeah.
so it was really good. But it's a little different than I would have preferred. But no, as far as Asheboro though, I think there's a lot of stuff in play already that's gonna get it there. But it's stuff that's behind the scenes that the community's not excited about yet. Basically, kind of a lot of my thought process is like the new sports complex. A lot of people don't realize that's coming in, but I mean, these are good fields for the kids to play in. This is if you've ever been to a YMCA on a soccer day, you know the chaos that ensues there. They even have a sign requiring you to turn one way because it's so dangerous there. So, I mean, that alone I think is huge for our kids in general. We have the new mega facility or whatever coming up. I think that's going to give the adults some more jobs. And then we have the zoo is doing Asia, which should inspire a whole new return of tourists to come back and revisit that zoo that they had a great time at and stuff. So I think a lot of this stuff is going to push it to that next level, but it's like we're not there. I know we still got some room to go as far as like it's going to really crank forward, but as far as what I think it could use to be better, I think a lot of this stuff is getting put in play. It's just not there yet. And I think once that's there, but one of the things that and I want to be the guy. One of the things that I think Asheboro has lacked is for our kids in the teen crowd. So if you think about it, and nothing against the bowling alley and the putt-putt, I mean but those have been in Asheboro for ages, and the kids want something new, they want fresh, things like that, and I think that's something that I want to really bring to the table. And I told somebody the other day, like, I want to be Asheboro's entertainment. I want people to come there and just be like, this is where I want to go have my birthday party. I want you to be able to even go with like an adult friend and be like, let's go have some fun. It's not just kids, it's just in general. There's not a lot of like fun activities outside of we got the zoo, the zip line, and then I think we're mostly museums, pottery. But it's like, as far as in I don't know, adrenaline type fun maybe is more the search, which I think people are kind of more into these days, as opposed to you don't go sit at your house and play cards with your friends anymore. We're not. I think people are hunting this like something
Adventure.
fresh, adventure. We're all sitting here like looking through the world, finding what's going to be that new thing. But I've got some really cool ideas down the road that I don't think you'll be able to leave there for hours, man. So I'm excited to whenever that comes to fruition. But I know that the step one is take some steps, jump off, lean into it. So that's kind of the hopes right now is to start pushing that way, because like if I feel it's lacking, which is one thing with like Asheboro that kind of blows my mind, is like sometimes we'll have like a new place pop up. We got a new Taco Bell coming up over there. if you see how people respond, I don't know if you've seen it, but
Yeah.
on social media, they're like, we don't need no other stinking Taco Bell. Why? Another mattress place. We need Olive Garden. We need a Starbucks. It's like, these are people's businesses.
Starbucks is the big one.
Why don't-
Starbucks is the big one everybody's been talking about. Yeah.
But it's like they say that a lot, but they're not willing to go out and get a franchise license. They're not saving the thousands of dollars to start it up. So if you want a Starbucks, go start a Starbucks in Asheboro, right? So that's my thing is, like, you see a lot of people say what they don't want to see, but you don't see them changing it.
Right.
So it's like, I want to see more entertainment in Asheboro as far as for kids and even into adults. So that's my chase is, do it. Don't just say we want it.
Right at the end of this one. Come on in.
Hey, how's it going?
Where you
Yeah,
want
you just kind of squeeze in back there. We'll wrap this up. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Good,
Hope I
good.
didn't interrupt anything.
No, you
No,
didn't.
you're
You
fine.
didn't.
It's just my
We're
face.
playing on yeah, so that's pretty much what the last previous
Yep,
guest
exactly what we were saying last
said.
week.
That he has a son too.
Yes.
So to end this off, we got Marshall's going to be a father.
Yeah. And,
So-
Congrats.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
First
First one. Yeah, first one. Thank
so you got to
Thank you.
give some advice to him
Yeah.
before you.
Yeah, if you do you are you yeah.
One of my favorite things to tell new parents is 6 to 9 months.
Mhm.
Don't blink.
Okay.
It is something.
Are you saying the first 6 to 9 or
Nope.
when
No,
they're
no,
6
no.
6
I
months
call-
to 9 months?
I call 0 to 6 alien baby.
Okay. All right.
I don't,
All right,
they're
gotcha.
cute, but I call them alien baby
All right.
because they're like,
Yeah, gotcha.
They just stare at you and do weird things.
Scream
Yeah, and then they
uncontrollably.
cry and poop and
Yeah.
But once they hit that 6 month period, they all of a sudden from 6 to 9 months, man, it goes from alien baby to this like full-fledged learning little being. It's amazing. That's when you start getting eye contact and laughter and things like that and stuff. And I don't blink. 6 to 9 months, man. It's
Thank you.
amazing. Because 0 to 6 is gonna go.
Yeah.
And
Well, we found out on July 4th. That's when we found out.
and tell your
And
wife
it was
don't do those washable diaper things.
Okay.
No,
No,
you don't want it.
no, I'm not gonna be washing.
You don't want it. We did one of those things.
Yeah, no, I haven't been washing
Oh my
diapers.
gosh.
But yeah, we found out July 4th, and it's just been like that already.
Awesome. When do you have a due date?
March
March
6th.
March 6th.
6th.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a boy.
Yeah, I got one. I've got 3. I've got a 10, a 7, and a 5 or 4. A 4, a 7, and a 10.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then my boy's the smallest. But with all of them, it's amazing. It's amazing that period where they transition from what's this fragile, you don't want a little break thing,
Yeah.
and then eventually they're like around the house, running around. So it's and then it gets even more intense the moment they can stand and walk, and they run before they walk sometimes, and then everything from there is just downhill, man.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
Yeah, really.
No,
Kinda.
it's yeah.
Kind of not.
No.
It's both. It's
No,
both.
no. There's
I
there's
gotcha.
definitely like I was saying when my 10-year-old, like taking her to a business type thing, teaching her things that just develop her mind. Like, I don't goo goo gaga your kid.
Yeah.
I guess is my least favorite thing that people do is one of my buddies laughs. He says, like, I talk to my 7-year-old like she's a full grown adult.
I believe you should.
Like
do
I
that.
do. Like, we have full blown conversations.
Mhm.
If I lose my cool, I
Yeah.
come back and I say, listen,
Yeah.
nobody should be doing that. I'm sorry. I don't think it's fair to you. And I hope that I can do this better next time. I don't baby
Right.
my kids in a sense like you'd be amazed what they're taking in by the time they're 5.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Well, I'm on your
But-
on your side there.
So
yeah.
it's like one of my favorite stories to tell about Gracie, and she's 10 now, but she was about 7 years old, and she took a purse and she threw it up into her fan in her room, and it got caught up, and it broke the fan out to where the wires ripped out, started sparking. I shut the power off on the house, and then I took the fan down. Yeah,
I hate to laugh, but
no, right? No, extreme. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. So, but I turned around, and I most parents, I'm gonna ground you, and you go to Lowe's, you get the fan, you replace the fan. I pulled up Lowe's on the phone. I said, "Look, baby girl, the cheapest fan in Lowe's is $50. You're going to make that money. You're going to figure it out." And her idea was to do lemonade stand. She wants to figure out how to make money. So my mom's doing like a yard sale thing, and she's like, "I'm going to do lemonade." And I don't know if you know what laripe is, but it's that grass that everyone uses in landscaping. It's kind of like just takes over on the borders.
Not the monkey grass.
Monkey grass, yeah.
Monkey grass.
So she gets this idea that she wants to take that, separate it into little pieces, and sell the monkey grass. I was like, "Cool, I'll help you out." So we're digging and stuff. We separate that out. I made her a sign. She makes lemonade and cookies. She goes to a yard sale, and she makes the money. The best part, she goes down in my mom's basement. She sees a fan down in the basement. She asked my mom how much she could buy the fan for. My mom said she'll give her the fan. She came home with the money to buy the fan and a fan. I said, "Kudos to you. I'll hang the fan."
The future. And you wonder why she is the way she is about money.
Right, you know. But I feel like most people would be like,
"That's true."
Ground and go buy it and done. You know, like there's lessons in everything. Don't hold back, man. Like these are brains that are just taking everything you say and everything you do, man. And I feel like as a dad, that's probably why Grace is the way she is, because I didn't hold back. She's super smart. And that last one, I promise.
She's good, man.
Because I forgot to tell you. So Grace, she's helping me with Active Zone Gaming. She's been doing the festivals, so I've been paying her what I can from that. You know, we work out like an hourly type thing. And she took her money. She takes I think she's already spent over $100 in canvases, paints, brushes. Wow. She said she wanted to sell these at a craft fair coming up.
Hustler, man.
So she's turning her money into more money. So I love that idea. So she gets something like 36 paintings together already for the craft fair. I think it's down the road a little bit. So the other day I was in Lumina eating sushi with her, and she's like, I tell Grace, you know what would be crazy? We talked about this before we get there, because she brought 3 paintings. I was like, let's ask them if they would hang your paintings. And so we asked the bartender to come over, John, and I was like, hey, you know, Gracie here, she's been painting, and like she's wondering like what she could do to maybe get on the wall. And he's like, you're the one painting? And she's like, yeah. And they talk a little bit, and he's like, hold on, I think I can make this work. And he goes over. Little did I know that Laura Ashley is sitting at the bar, and she's about to have wreaths and Santa Claus paintings and some of her paintings up on the wall. He went and asked her if it was okay to have Gracie's paintings up with Laura Ashley's at the same time and kind of in between. So this week, her painting, she's got 8 paintings going up in Lumina.
Wow, that's great.
10 years old.
That's great.
Awesome. You know,
awesome.
like I mean, that's got to be proud dad moments, like where you're just like, you know, I'll give you the ingredients. You go do what you do, you know. So I mean, don't hold back, man. That's the best thing is like they take it all in. Yep. Be open to being get yourself in trouble too. Yeah. You know, we're not perfect. I don't know, but it's one thing that the best thing you could ever do. Don't baby them and don't blink 6 to 9 months.
6 to 9.
What he said
it's a fast change.
What he said about talking to him like an adult is very important. That's what I do. You've seen me do that with Tyler ever since he was
I know. And I've prepared myself, you know, and reminded myself I'm not raising a child. I'm raising an adult. Yeah. That's what I'm raising.
Yeah, I mean,
from the 0 to 3 months is about the time to goo goo gaga. That's about
That's
about it.
Scream at him.
You're so cute. I mean,
Yeah.
you still say that once in a while,
Right.
but for the
I think
most part,
the moment that it takes a little bit for their vision to get out. So really, you're at the beginning, they're just listening to sounds, but the moment they start to like lock, and you see their eyes just kind of pulling in, and they're taking it all in. That's when you already know their brain's like. They're just taking it all, man, and it's a transition that you can't ask for, man. It's beautiful. So I'm happy for you. Congrats, man.
Thank you.
Because it's definitely. I know kids aren't for everybody, and I have people that tell me like, "Oh, never have kids."
That was
But,
me.
Yeah,
That was me.
that was everybody on God's green earth at some point.
yeah.
Whether
So,
they're 12
Yeah.
years old or 20 years old,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna have kids.
Right.
Really.
Right.
I've never,
Planned on it.
I don't know why I've always wanted kids. Like
even
that.
since
Some
you were
people-
like a little boy.
That's some
Yeah.
people.
my
My
kids-
brother's
stand
like
corrected.
My kids
brother's
are
like
the
that.
11th, 13th, and 15th grandchildren to
Oh wow.
my mom,
Wow.
but my dad is one of 13.
Wow.
So there's a lot of family.
family.
Lot of
Gotcha.
family. But I grew up with a lot of nephews and nieces, and basically, like, one of my nieces, I raised her from like 0 to 5 years old. So it was like, I had a lot of hands-on experience and stuff, and I loved watching development. Like, I think that's kind of where it comes in. It's really interesting in that first year to watch something that's like,
Yeah. Morph into something else.
yeah. To 10 years later, they're hanging art in Lumina,
Yeah,
like,
really.
and you're like, where did that go?
She was an actress on stage too. I've filmed her.
Really?
Yeah, she's done some
doing
little
some
bit of
plays,
acting
yeah.
stuff,
Gotcha.
plays.
Yeah.
My wife's like, she helps us get out to all those things. I give her the most credit on the plays
Yeah.
and things like that. Like, she's very good at finding what's going on for the kids, and there's a lot of like church, like school groups, homeschool groups and stuff. They've been homeschooled for a while, but they like all of that stuff. I mean, just put them in whatever they're into and stuff. But it's interesting, man. So
Well, thank you.
just yeah.
Thank
No, man, you congrats to you,
Thank
man.
you.
That's awesome.
Exciting,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Exciting for one.
It is.
It really is. There's a lot of
Try not to
stress.
shit myself.
Yeah.
Currently.
No, you will. There's stress.
Yeah.
That 0 to 3 months he's talking about. Say bye to sleep for a
I'm
little
sure.
bit.
I'm sure.
Well, unless you're me, like tell your wife she should breastfeed. Then you never have to warm up the bottles.
Yeah, that's
She said no. She's like no. But no, that was one thing that was always kind of nice. It's like, oh, the baby's awake,
yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
I can't heat up the bottle, bro.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
I can't do this. I don't know what you want me to do. I don't have the material.
Thankfully, that's I've been in that boat. you
Yeah.
know. She did it to all the way through for Tioga, and right now it's 3 months in, and she's still doing it.
Yeah, and
And it's beneficial for the baby if you can do it.
Yeah.
anytime you get to give her a break, because she's gonna put in a lot of hours. Yeah, you see her shaking her head. Yeah, yeah. Anytime you can, man.
Oh yeah.
That's a big part too.
All right.
Well, I already know we want to talk to you again. Like I said, this is just the first go through.
Yeah,
so,
man.
I'm excited about what you got going on in the spring, and
I hope that next time we speak, some more of those ideas are ready to be launched, and
Oh yeah. Yeah.
so-
No, and I can't wait to like where you come back and we can talk about how the VR experiences have gone, because
Yes.
we're talking about just Friday, but by the next time it could
Uh-huh.
be a few breweries.
Right.
I've got no limits right now on what I want to push for, so
that
I'm
that
pretty
boxing
excited.
thing, that could definitely work.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
There's people around here that want to beat the out of each other.
But
anyway, so
I
just
mean,
do
look
it
at all
virtually.
these. Look at them, all the breweries doing trivia right
Mhm.
now, and it's like,
Yeah,
boring.
trivia and
Boring.
like music bingo. And
I want to
stuff.
watch
Yeah,
people
it's
punch
pretty
each other in the
boring.
face.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there is, I don't want to name drop, but there is a bar in Asheboro right now that does retro game nights once a week.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's like a cool idea, but when
Yeah.
you go and you watch, you're like, it's kind of lame.
Yeah.
So if you were to do something like that, I mean, if that would work, then I promise you that.
Yeah.
you could
boxing
get a whole
thing would work.
demographic of cast that
Yeah.
would really.
I mean,
to make the shit
those
run
boxing
good.
machines, you know,
Yeah.
as like
Good, just the
competitive-
punching one.
Yeah, the punching
Yeah.
machines
People
as
just want to
competitive
hit
as
that
those
thing,
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
something.
No, but definitely thanks for having
Yeah.
me, man.
Yeah,
I
no doubt,
I
man.
love it, man. I appreciate you guys considering me to come
Yeah.
out here and stuff. I know we're in the little early stages, but I've got no limits right now, and I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
going, man.
Awesome.
I think you're gonna reach some good heights because that's something that I know is different from what we do. That's more widely accepted. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like it's really hard to do some things that we do,
Yeah.
and especially here, and that's where I get my sour attitude sometimes.
Mhm.
I love hate with Asheboro, but what you're doing is going to benefit the up and coming youth.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Much
then that's
wider
going to make
audience.
them want to be here. That's going to make them want to stay around. And maybe, like, that's what I want to do this for, is to give them ideas that they can do something
Right.
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
this. So who are you going
Yeah,
to
definitely.
who are you going to influence with your knocker balls that's going to say, hey, I want to do this, but I can
Mhm.
do it like this, and then maybe come up to you and have an internship with you, and maybe
Yeah,
get them
definitely.
to be, their own entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
And that's what we got to touch on next time, is the whole entrepreneurship
Right.
and how that you made a good comment on that post that I had about that, and that's where we're going to pick up from
Yeah, I
here.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, my brother.
The starts, man. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. And
Thanks,
thanks for your
guys.
service. Too.
Yeah, hey, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Where do we
Yeah.
click this thing? What
Yeah,
do we
click it back
Click
down.
that thing.
Click it back down.
Give 'em the
We got
chop.
about 20
Yeah.
minutes.
Give 'em the
Where'd
chop.
it go? It vanished.
It's time to pick the noses and
Yeah, pick nose.
pick nose and take a piss.